Namaste, sir. What I do today is our future. He also said we will change the history in the world. This occasion was educated and the part of mission life activity, Department of Sustainable Development and Public Policy (MA) and Department of Environmental Information and Environmental Debate and Clinical Program (ENPP), which are environment, forest and climate change. Government of India has also the development of sustainable lifestyle for environment. Nobody can be speaker for age, only and on the conscious community regularly. I would like to explain about the level of Dr. Jahan Sharma, the user. Also welcome all the participants and every staff webinar. Now, I will this for a Dr. Jahan Sharma, head of the campaign.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I was not receiving your audio. I was mentioning that the audio that I was receiving has not been very clear, but that apart, please try look at that. I welcome everyone for this wonderful seminar which we are conducting in dual mode. People are there at EMPRI who are attending physically, and they are primarily the our research community from the institute and certain other persons from civil society who have joined, and then a number of joinees I am finding through internet, and a number of senior persons among them. So I congratulate all of you for taking interest in this very important subject that this country is trying to promote globally. The concept of lifestyle for environment is something which Prime Minister Modi has mentioned on the occasion of 26th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, wherein this is one of the Panchamrit elements that India mainstreams through those platforms, and globally, India, as is emerging also in terms of yoga country, also sustainable environmental practices that have been there in this country are getting promoted through the Lifestyle for Environment program of Government of India. So on this occasion, I welcome all of you. With us to interact today is a person with extraordinary life facets, Mr. Sandeep Anirudhan, who is his work life is as exciting as his personal life is. A person who had who was well placed, had almost everything whatever a person normally requires, decides to have a different focus in life, and he's walking a path which is path of sannyasis, because it is only sannyasis who are so fixed with their goal and pursuance of their goal. And it would be appropriate to say that he's a social entrepreneur. He's a person who is living by example in today's society, and we are very happy to have him today amongst us. And I think more elaborate introduction of him will be given by our anchor for this seminar. I'm very happy and excited and looking forward to the deliberations of the seminar. And on behalf of the Environmental Management and Policy Research Institute, EMPRI, I welcome you all to this seminar and trust that the message of lifestyle for environment will be gradually becoming deeper and deeper seated in a society, and at individual level, at civil society level, at government level, this will be adopted and would result in an environment that we all desire to have for ourselves. So with this, I close my initial remarks and once again welcome you all to this seminar, particularly the people who are joining from the larger civil society. And we are very happy to associate with them. And we are so excited to associate with anyone else who is working in this area. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And I look forward to hear from the speaker for the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Moving forward, I will make it work Ms. Kumari, our speaker, Shri Sandeep Ayodhya.
Thank you, Sudeshna. Now I would like to give a short and brief introduction about our speaker. He is a serious entrepreneur and management professional who quit his conventional life a decade ago without any savings or wealth to fall back on and motivated theory of belief and intent, trusting that universe has his back. Plunged blindly into volunteering firstly towards the betterment of society and the planet. Ever since he has been living a life of questioning everything and contributing to the planet and society. His personal and public life is an example of minimalism, gift economy, and community engagement. We are pleased to have Mr. Sandeep Anirudhan as our current speaker. Meanwhile, if you have any questions during the webinar, I request you all to please type them into the chat box and we'll address them during the question and answer. Now I request Mr. Sandeep Anirudhan to start today's session. Over to you, sir.
Hello. What do you think things fix it? Okay. Namaskar, everyone. Good morning to everyone. I'm not sure which language to proceed in. Those who are comfortable in both English and Kannada, please raise your hands. Everybody is. Anybody who does not understand English? ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಬರ್ದೇ ಇರೋದಿದ್ದಾರಾ? ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವೇ ಹೇಳಿ, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಕು? ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಸುಮಾರು ಜನ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಸೊ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡನೂ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. I told you, no? You'll have to keep. Please do. Hello. Is my voice audible on to viewers or on? Yeah, Subhash, can you hear me? The voice better?
Mr. Sandeep, your audio, when you are at the podium, please do not use the handheld mic. That mic is sufficient, but if you move, please do make use of that handheld mic.
Hello.
Thank you.
Audible?
Thank you. Yes, you are better audible.
All right. So is the Zoom audio clear? The feed is clear?
Yes, please.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. To everyone at the environment, how do you explain environment management and policy
Research Institute. It's a pleasure to be amongst you. Do I safely assume all of you here know more than me on environment? Are you all practitioners? That means most of you have learning on environment. You've done some courses and stuff like that. So perhaps that's why Sonu, while inviting me here, said, don't give us a speech. She said, make it an interactive session. What I'm assuming is what she meant is, well, you won't know as much as we do. So don't give us any half-baked talks where you look ignorant. Instead, you ask us questions and we'll tell you. Is that right? Okay. So I guess a good interaction to have, I know it's well meant, and I'll tell you why it is necessary to have. You are an environment organization, right? You are closely connected, you are constantly studying, you are advising a lot of people, and you have a huge list of publications, very good reference material. So it's a lot of knowledge. And when you walk into your auditorium, as you walk in, you'll see there are paper cups on the table. Right? So you understand. So there's a huge amount of knowledge available throughout the world. How much of it is being applied? Right? So please don't embarrass yourself by having paper cups lying around here, in future at least. So at least there's one takeaway from the seminar already. Agree? Sonu said it has to be interactive, so I have to hear your voices. Thank you. So the problem, in fact, as your director was introducing me, Mr. Sharma said that I am living the life of an ascetic, right? I don't believe so. In fact, I very humbly disagree. In fact, I'm living a normal life. I'm living a normal life as part of the planet, as part of this nature. I'm enjoying it. I'm happy. And I'm living a very material life. But I'm only living that much of a material life as is required by me. Honestly evaluate each one of you. Are you living a material life that is just required for you? Or are you living, using up exponentially more than that? Yeah, so that is the only difference between you and me. I'm not an ascetic. I'm living a very normal material life. But who decided at what time that living a normal life means you have to use so many resources, you have to spend so much of money, you have to earn so much money, and then you have to get stressed, and then all the money you earn, you give to the doctor and consume medicines, and keep doing that day on day, year on year till you die. Who decided that? Right? So who decides what's a normal life? Ascetics, I agree. The sannyasi does a different thing. He moves out of material life completely, he lives society, goes into a forest, meditates. Yes, that's very different. I'm doing none of this. I'm living a very normal life, but I have reduced my carbon footprint from what it used to be maybe 10 years back to now probably only 5 or 10% of that. Is that an achievement? Yeah, you could say it is. Now, why are these questions very important? Why are we even talking about this? Is there any reason why we are talking about this? I mean, the August audience here should be the most prepared to answer this question, right? Day on day, you're pushing out reports as to what are we doing to the planet, right? Aren't you? Does it look rosy? Where is it headed? Before you people die, are you sure that the planet will not collapse? Yes or no? How many say yes? You're sure that the planet will not collapse before you die? Raise your hand. Only 3 people in the audience are sure the planet will not collapse. Then what are you doing here? All of this. All of you should just give up on life. You don't have to work. What are you working for? Take a vacation, enjoy life. If you're expecting the planet to collapse, right? How many of you believe it will collapse before you die? Raise your hands. Okay, then this was a very misleading poll because most of you don't raise your hand for both questions. So are you skeptics? Are you undecided? If you're undecided, raise your hands. Most of you are undecided. So you are in that state where you have information, but it's so shocking that you don't want to take a call. Is that right? It's throwing your mind into numbness, which is a great state to be in, right? At least the beginning of something. At least you're acknowledging that this is shocking, right? So at least in this audience, I don't have to explain what's happening with the planet, where we are heading. If you look at the latest IPCC reports, they are pretty much saying that we might have crossed the 1 degree rise in temperature, global warming. Some say that's just misleading. We probably have crossed 2 degrees already. And what was not projected in the 80s is that when they said if we exceed 2 degrees, the planet will collapse. They didn't factor the compounding effects. Say, it's not a linear path. You cross 0.5 degree, you cross 1 degree, then it has a lot of compounding effects due to which we cannot predict anymore. Therefore, a lot of impact is being felt already. In fact, last year's reports on there's this new coinage. Have you heard of it? Climate refugees. You're aware of it? No? Those who are aware of the term climate refugees, please raise your hands. Okay, then you'll have to check, you'll have to look up. Already last year, the number of climate refugees who had to shift because of climate impact is already in the millions. You're talking of 50, 100 million. India alone has about 5 to 10 million displacement due to climate impact. In fact, all those lakhs of Bangladeshis who are coming to our Indian cities, you're aware of it, right? It's a political problem, so nobody wants to talk about it. But it's actually not a political issue. It's a humanitarian issue born out of climate. The fact is, Bangladesh is one of those most sensitive to climate change. It's low-lying areas, adjoining the sea. Almost all the potable water is disappearing. It's all becoming brackish. Most farmlands cannot be cultivated. So people are actually selling whatever they have, long-stop barrel, taking big risks, crossing borders, risking gunfire, and then traveling to foreign cities and setting up life from scratch. Why would lakhs of people do this? Are they out of their mind? Do you think so? So, climate change is not the future. It's present. It's already happened over the last few years. The ice caps are melting. Seeing videos of it every day, right? But those are, at least it seems distant. But when the sea levels rise, most of our cities will be gone. At least the coastal cities will be gone in the next decade. That's scary, isn't it? And let's not look far away. How is the climate in Bengaluru these days? Does it rain less? Does it rain more? Does it rain in season? When it's hot, is it hotter or colder? When it's cold, is it colder or hotter? We seem to have lost all orientation, right? We don't know what's happening when. We can't predict anymore. Because the flooding is a different phenomenon. It's just that we've destroyed our topography to the point where if a flood happens, there's no place for the water to go, right? So these are the choices we've made. Who made them? Who? We made them, right? And therefore, our environment, our livability, our climate, everything is impacted. What's scary is we don't know how long this can continue, the party that we call life. It's quite possible in our own lifetimes, we'll be facing mass extinction. okay, if you're lucky, and I don't know if that's luck. I don't know if it's lucky if you have kids, because if you escape it, then your kids will face it in their lifetimes. So you're looking at between 30 to 50 years is all people say is the expiry date for life as we know it. The bad part is, it's not only us we are taking, we're going to take all the millions of life forms that exist on Earth, which is why they call it a mass extinction. So, why are we discussing a sustainable lifestyle? Is there hope that we can actually save ourselves by something we do? Do any of you think there's hope, or are we fatalistic that yeah, this is what's going to happen? We'll just go about our jobs. We'll still keep churning out reports. People will not. They might read it, but they'll ignore it, right? Because from the 1980s, from the Rio Summit onwards, we've been setting targets, right, every year for how much carbon emission we should reduce. We have to go back to pre-industrial times, emissions. What have we done in the last 80s to now? That's like 4 decades. In the last 4 decades, have we reduced or have we increased? And increased by what? By multiples. And the Rio Declaration was an international declaration with all countries of the world, right? So, what part of human civilization sounds sensible to you today? If we have been aware of the problem so many years back, in fact, there are reports that various universities predicted this kind of an outcome almost a century ago. I think MIT had done a study in the 60s. And the best instance is, I don't know how many of you, we've been quoting Gandhi, right? Spoke about what we do today is what we do to ourselves in the future. What is the second quote? Okay, I forgot it. Anyways, but those quotes are basically, you must listen to two more interesting quotes from Gandhiji from a book called the Hind Swaraj. How many of you read the Hind Swaraj? We haven't, right? So that's a failure of a democracy because in 1906 or 1909, this booklet was published by Gandhiji as a vision for what India should be when it is free. Once India gets its freedom, it's written more than 100 years ago by him. As this is the template. This is what India should be once it frees itself from the yoke of colonialism. So that's, we call him the father of the nation, right? But we don't read his vision document. What does it say about us? It's only a 100-page document. I implore all of you to please read it. Because if there's any reason why Gandhiji is called a genius, you will find it in this book. Because a good 100 years before, he wrote things that stare us in our face. Some of the lines in this book are, factory production will destroy the planet. He wrote this at a time when factories were not even visible, except in a few cities in the world, right? I'm sure like the amount of development we had now, where today everything is on our face. Back then, I'm sure 80 to 90% of the country was still very rural and, at that point, if somebody had to make that comment, that speaks of vision. You could look forward and say that, well, what the kind of things we're adopting today are possibly wrong. It will have consequences that are disastrous. He also made one more statement in the same book. He said, urbanization will destroy the planet. So today we stand at this bend in the road. Why? Because of only these two reasons, right? Yes or no? One is factory production, which is what the result of capitalism is, and the consumption-led lifestyle of today, right? Second is urbanization. Urbanization pretty much sucks out life from hundreds of square kilometers around it. You're aware of this? Any city pulls out resources, pulls out all kinds of resources, even people. See, within 100 to 200 kilometers of Bangalore, you will not find anybody who wants to stay in their villages. They'll want to leave everything, come off to the city and work, even if they have to just work as a driver or maid or any unskilled labor, but there's the lure of the city. So urbanization is that big evil which sucks everything out. Beyond, of course, the parameters that you understand, which are energy, water, environment degradation, pollution, and all the other things. So yes, we recognize we need a change, right? We need to prevent the disaster that's looking us in our face. How do we come to the solutions if we do not know where the origins of the problem? So what do you think are the origins of this problem? Of course, anthropogenic, yes. But what is this big shift that causes us to be standing in this very difficult period where we are unable to decide what to do? Either we are paralyzed, we are like, well, we've been issuing declarations and reports and stuff for the last 40, 50 years, but we are unable to take any action. These are not ordinary people who have given these reports or even the declarations, right? These are parliament, I mean, it's basically international treaties, international declarations, UN. So why is nobody able to take any action? Why is everything going in the opposite direction? It's like we're running towards the fire, right? If you look at it, after we make declarations, oh, that's the fire, we should avoid it, we should go in the opposite direction, and the entire world is running towards the fire. What explains this? So if you don't understand what is causing this, we cannot solve it, right? So understanding that and then taking action might be a very important thing. Now we need to understand what can we do. I think the whole discussion is moot if we leave each other in this point of in this phase of despair, right? Right now we feel despair, we don't know what to do. All of you are equipped with knowledge, right? All of us have the knowledge. We know the indicators, we know the theories, we know the impact and everything. But we feel so disempowered from taking any action. We can't control what governments do, right? We know they have made declarations, but they're not sticking to it. Can we do anything about it? What? Can we? I'd like a yes or a no. Okay, you feel empowered to do something. Before we collapse. Okay, so there's this feeling of helplessness, right? And that's not a space we want to lead this discussion from, right? Yeah. So, which is why I tend to think the answer lies in, just as I said, the malaise and the symptoms are amply visible. It's just that we're so conditioned. The reason why governments can't take action, why companies can't take action, corporates cannot take action, and individuals cannot take action, is because we're part of a culture. And just as in any other area of life, be it corporates, be it farming, be it anything else, culture change is a huge challenge. Everywhere. This is part of human behavior. Because the problem might be right in front of us, but because we're used to doing something in a particular way, we just cannot change the way we do things. It's as simple as if you're used to reading the newspaper in the morning, and if you wake up and the paper is not delivered that morning, you'll be completely at a loss that day, wouldn't you? Or if you're very fond of coffee, don't get your filter coffee in the morning, that's it, your day is destroyed. It's right. There's no real reason to be. It's not essential. It's just a habit. But our entire mind is a habit. And this is why, even though you have all the information in the world, when you're walking through your reception, you find paper cups. You know the complete story of paper cups. You know that it is use and throw, single use. Technically, single use of any kind is frowned upon today, right? That's why single use plastic is banned. And most of you might even be aware that the paper cup is not just paper. Are you aware? What? It is fused material. And if it is fused material, it cannot be recycled also. There's only one way it is going to the dump, right? Yeah. So we are complicated, we are adding to the so this is an excellent indicator as to with all the laws. We might never take action. Isn't it? Most of you might have studied. So what I do is this. So my hope lies, for one, see, one of the barriers here is reduced because all of you are generally aware and knowledgeable. But if you're looking at the population, I'm not interested in converting, say, the 100 people in this room. All of you become aware. All of you become active. All of you become activists. And all of you are out to change the world. It's not going to make any difference. Why? You're not going to speak of that. We have 8 billion population. If that 8 billion population is out to destroy the planet, we are not going to make it impact, right? So my interest is in how more numbers, large numbers of people can actually change, become more aware, and start taking action. And why is that? Because not that I'm saying the 100 of you doing this is not important, it is, but you'll have to be catalysts. If you're just going to take action, it's right, the numbers don't match, it's not going to happen. But can each of you catalyze? Can you convert another 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 people? And if they can convert, that's the kind of chain reaction that might save the planet. Are you interested in saving the planet? How many of you have children? That's a long, big number. Do you want there to be a home for them 50 years from now? Then the motivation for you has to be even higher that you convert at least 1,000 people. And is it very difficult? The question, see, it's like this, the paper cup need not have been here, right? Or plastic need not have been here. But did we make the choice? Is it very difficult to make the choice? You're saying it's not difficult. Then paper cup should not exist in the market. Right? It is difficult. Trust me. It is difficult because we are creatures of habit. Breaking a habit is very difficult. So this is where I don't know what's going to work for people. But I can share my journey. From that, it's like another one of Gandhi's sayings, my life is my message. Now, there's no point me lecturing you on, oh, this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing, that's this. I can share my journey, I can share my learnings, I can share my experiences, make what you may out of it. But at least what I'm saying to you is genuine. It's my own experience. It is a real. Then you can see whether it will work for you. Or maybe something else will work for you, but at least I'm not giving you Gyan, baseless Gyan. Is that good enough? So one of the first things I did when I started over the journey is to start questioning every choice I'm making. And how does a choice typically happen? A choice typically happens every living moment, probably even your sleeping moment. Yes or no? Let's assume you wake up in the morning. First thing you do is, what do you do first thing in the morning? We check your phones. Yeah, that's a choice. And now considering the I call this the litmus test. You look at the life cycle of the choice. Typically, there's this logic people have, right? Oh, if I switch to an electric vehicle, now we are not going to be polluting the planet. Is that true? Yes or no? So you're all aware. So there's a life cycle. The electricity for it has to come from somewhere. There is a factory somewhere that will produce that and pollute the environment. Even if it is solar, then you need lithium batteries, which are destroying entire batteries with mining. Or you need silicon, again leads to mining. If you have to shift all the energy needs of the planet today to solar, one planet is not enough to mine. We need at least 8 to 10 planets. Right? So suddenly it looks like electric is not really a solution because we don't even have the means to service that solution, right? So that's how you look at a life cycle. Every choice we make, you look at the life cycle. Where do every resource that is important for the choice originate? Is it something that has been mined? Because there's nothing left to mine, right? Whatever is left now is part of forests, which is why every year we see more and more forests are getting encroached. We are killing and raping tribals to get rid of them and then mining their ancestral lands. Why? Because there's nothing else left. So we have to look at if it's minerals, that's the story. If it is produced, then we have to see where it was produced, how it was farmed, was it done naturally, or have we used fertilizers and chemicals for it? And in which case, the life cycle goes all the way to fossil fuels. Yes or no? Because fertilizers and most of those things are produced from fossil fuels. So, yes, it might be a challenge for the average person, but with a little reading up, we can get up to speed. That's what I realized, because when I started on the journey, I absolutely had no idea how far this goes. Because like the average citizen, I was clueless. I had sympathies. I wanted to be green. I didn't want to have an impact on the planet. I wanted to make wiser choices. Yes, but I didn't have much information. And for the average citizen, it is very overwhelming to think about it. Going through an entire life cycle, like, oh, this was produced like this, it was produced in a factory. What are the factors involved? It involved energy use, it involved water use, it had pollution, it had livelihood impact, all that. It seems a little complicated. But then I realized it's only 5 or 10 questions you have to answer. Where did it originate? How was it processed? So, how much did it have to travel to reach you? And these answers give you an idea of what resource use was involved, how much carbon footprint it carried, and what impact it has on the planet until you are making the choice. And you just have to look forward and see what is going to be the impact in the future. How is it going to get disposed, or what are the overall impacts? Kind of will close a loop and you can figure out if it's a sustainable choice. So mobile is something I still don't find an alternative to, so we'll skip it right now. Unless we all become telepathic and decide not to use mobiles. So the next thing you probably will do is wash your face, right? And there, okay, your first choice in the morning probably will be water. Where does your water come from? Have you ever thought? Have you ever thought of it as a choice and thought, oh, well, what is the impact of this? Anybody who's thought about it, raise your hands. Good. At least 3 or 4 people who have thought about it. Good. So now this is how you arrive at a choice. Now this water, typically in Bengaluru, if you're living in the central business district or most of the areas where there's Kaveri, right? Are you paying the actual price for that water? The actual cost of that water? How much are you paying? Do you know where that water originates? It originates in the Kaveri. How many kilometers away from here? About 100 kilometers away. So we have the dubious distinction of being a city that gets its water 100 from away, 100 kilometers away. Now that's not the worst part of it. It travels up about, at what height is Bangalore's elevation? What, 1,000 meters? Yeah, we are at 1,000 meters above sea level, but I'm sure Kaveri is somewhere little. So the point is we're traveling, we're taking the water up like that. The sheer energy used for that is monumental. And do you know how much of that water is wasted in transit? 50%. Half of it goes waste. So the eventual cost of getting that water to your homes is huge. But your bills are not inflated, right? You're only paying 1/5 or 1/10 of that cost. Why? Because you're not supposed to pay it as a bill, you're supposed to pay it as a tax. The tax amount is used to subsidize it. So you're not aware that it is an expensive option. Why did we choose to do that when the total amount of water that we get from the Kaveri is less than the amount of rain we receive? Very aware of it? Bengaluru has no rains. In fact, this year rained even more. And the total amount of water that rains on Bangalore, if we store it here and reuse it, we probably never required the Kaveri pipeline even today. So why did we choose to do this about 40, 50 years back? Have you thought of it? Because back then many of our lakes were still alive, right? In fact, every drop of water in Bengaluru that would rain here never went waste. It got stored in reservoirs called our lakes and tanks. We had how many? How many lakes in Bengaluru? Beg your pardon? Okay, any more guesses? What's the name? Renika says 180 lakes. Anybody who's conflicting with that? More than 1,000. Okay, the second guess is more than 1,000. Any more guesses? What? No, that's present. How many did we have? How many lakes did Bengaluru have? Okay, we had between 1,800 to 2,000 lakes, and these are the big ones. 1,800 to 2,000 is approximate. Plus, we had Kalyani, ponds. Bengaluru had 3 river systems, or actually 4. Are you aware of it? These are cascading river systems. They originate, I think, a couple of them originate from Nandi Hills. There's the Dakshini Pinakini, there is Arkavanti, Vrishabhavanti. Yes. So, these rivers were essentially cascading networks. They would go land in one lake, overflow into the next lake, and so on. And this ensured that not a single drop of rain would get wasted. We stored, was getting reused. This was developed indigenously for 2,000 years back. Did you know that 2,000 years back, probably Bangalore didn't have any light? It was a okay. Another guess. Can you guess how many of these lakes are actually natural? What percentage? You're saying 100% are natural. 100% are artificial. Any other opinions? No midway opinions? Actually, you're right. 100% artificial. Just imagine the ingenuity of the people of this land. Bengaluru it's at a high ridge, right? Almost 1 kilometer above sea level. And it's a steep ridge. Any rainfall just flows away into Tamil Nadu and Mysore. Right? Which is why it was a dry plateau always. But it has a lot of valleys. Our native people figured out in the valleys, if you just put a pond, check that. It accumulates the water, it becomes a lake. So they built the system to hold rainwater, conserve it and use it, and that's how Bengaluru became livable. Another part of the wisdom was they realized the more vegetation you have around, the more of the water cycle impact happens and it attracts more rain, right? So Kempegowda's mother's words to him when he said, I want to set up a city in Bengaluru. What were her famous words? Anybody knows? It's part of the folklore of Bengaluru. I mean, it might not be true, but that's a folklore. She's supposed to have said, Maragalannu Nadu, Keragalannu Kattu. That's all. Just look at the span of wisdom it captures. If you want to be a livable city, you ensure there's greenery and you ensure there's water security. Simple. This is the basis of planning of our city. These were supposed to have been done by people who didn't have any formal education in planning, architecture, whatever, engineering. We were building huge lakes. Look at the size of Belambur Lake, Vartur Lake. It's the size of massive dams, right? Which means the local natives, whom we might tend to, in our ignorance, call ignorant, they had the knowledge of hydrology, they understood topology, they understood engineering, otherwise those bunds wouldn't stand. They had sluice gates. We're talking 1,000 years back, 2,000 years back. And they built water security for this region. They brought greenery, right? Then the British came, who claimed to be superior to us. And they gave us their superior knowledge of engineering, they set up college courses, they built a bureaucracy. And over the last 300 years, our lake count went from 2000 to, go to 100. So look at the impact of education. What did it give us? So-called education, I mean to say. Let's not call it education, but the so-called education of the West, it reduced the view that we have. Our knowledge we think is important has become so much, whereas the knowledge that we actually require is so much, which people before us who didn't go to schools and colleges had. Why? Why is it that ordinary villager is capable of building a dam? Why did he understand the importance of building forests? We had this concept of Devrakadu, no, in every village. Are you aware? Why were they aware of that? They knew that our environment will only be protected if we conserve nature, right? There's an interconnectedness all around. So what they understood the water cycle. Now today we do degrees in environmental science, but we still will not grasp it, right? Why did all that knowledge and all these new forms of doing things ends up in a disaster scenario? Right. So basically it's because we have become automatons. We don't think, we don't move into awareness, and our actions are not based on awareness. So let's come back to that beginning, the choice of water. If we were aware that this water that comes from Kaveri, the actual cost we pay for it is huge, will you use it? So what's the next choice? What is the other option available? What? Do you have any other option? Water source. Why do you say that? How many of you have actually seen wells? Where are they now? This is basically shallow groundwater, right? Why is there no water in those wells today? What? Okay, you know too many answers. Let the others. No, it's a good thing. Don't let the others know. Yeah, others tell me why is the water not there? Over exploitation. There has to be water to exploit. No, only then you go for exploitation. Yeah, so why should the water table reduce? Okay, there is a distinction when you're referring to the water table, when you're talking of water table in a borewell scenario, and when you're talking about shallow well, which is your grandmother's house, you had a well, right? That is a shallow well. It's only about 20-30 feet. Whereas our borewells are below 500, 600,000. I think yesterday there was somebody drilling a borewell next to my house, 1,700 feet. That water is not even potable. It's harmful to drink it. So that's different because Bangalore has a rock bed just below 30 or 40 feet. It's rock. So the water that is to get in the wells is above the rock. This is the shallow end first. These are fed by rainwater. That's why the water level might go down. After the rains, it will come up. It will last for a year. Again, it will go down and come back. But now it is not coming up. Why? Huh? Exactly. Rainwater is not going. Exactly. It's not going down. It's not circulating. It's running off. Right? What have we done to the crop? We have concretized it all. Answer? You got your result? Answer? So what do you do in today's world to make sure water goes down into that? Huh? Correct. You can do rainwater harvesting. No? It's not a very complicated solution. But at least if you collect it, filter it, put it down to the well, your well is packed. Then do you require Kaveri water? No, right? Then what about all the lakes? At least the few that are left. If we incentivize as a policy that they are protected and water is retained in them and they are desilted regularly as we used to. But traditionally they used to maintain the lakes every year. Now we don't, right? And the very people who used to revere these lakes, used to worship them, protect them, and maintain them every year, today they connect their septic tank into them, throw their garbage into them, right? But if we make them the primary source of drinking water, will they do that? So actually making Kaveri water available to our houses was the problem, right? That is when we stopped caring about our lakes. And every lake that has water, it will recharge at least the groundwater for about 45 square kilometers around. All the wells are good. So policy-wise, the government went wrong, isn't it? So the way I see it is first, we need to act. Otherwise, we will have a dissonance. Oh, I am not acting. So we may be able to make a choice. Oh, I am aware. This is the problem. These are the possible solutions. This is a very energy-intensive water coming from Kaveri. Maybe rainwater harvesting is the first option to reduce my use of that water. Let's call Kaveri water as carbon heavy water. So we have to use something that's less on our conscience, right? So maybe rainwater harvesting. And then when we start doing it, then you'll feel empowered because we've made a difference. Yes or no? What do you feel? Okay, since you're not experienced it, try it, then you feel it. So what happens once you make one of those choices, then you feel very empowered. You'll be like, oh, I can do something. Then you want to tell others. We'll tell everybody in our neighborhood, we'll tell everybody, people, see, these are things we have to do, this can be done. Then it builds a little movement, your entire family is doing it, then your friends are doing it, your circle is doing it, your entire building neighbors are doing it. Then your community, you start talking to everybody, it will build a movement, right? Which is one change. Then as you do more and more, you will build a community of movements. These are simple things, but they are movements, right? Because you're making a demand. Why is this important? Because a government that nobody was telling the government what is the right thing to do, they went and got some one-time funds and they put some pipelines to the Kaveri. That's because they didn't have good wisdom, they didn't have good advice. Who will advise them on the right wisdom? Because they're still doing it, no? Now that they're facing problems, they're saying we'll bring water from Sharavati. And now, unlike then, now we have people who are objecting. People from Saravati are saying, "Oh, Rama, you can't take it." We ourselves don't have. Malayanaду means land of rains. Today they have water shortage. There are no rains. This is climate change impact. So they are saying, you people have messed up your city. You have lost all your lakes. Now you suffer. Don't take our water. Now wherever you want to go for water, there is going to be wind. Whomever we go and say, "Oh, we want your water," they will say get lost. Right? They're well within their rights, right? We've been happily stealing water from Kaveri all these years. That doesn't make it right. So today, citizens are also more aware. You and me are talking like this, right? See, because I am not a specialist, I'm just an average Joe, just an average citizen. In fact, all of you here are more information than me. But we are able to have this conversation. So why should it be wasted? The ones that need it is the government, right? Because the government is the one that's making bad choices. How much ever, and this is what I was saying, you and me making a shift is not going to impact the planet because the biggest impact decisions are made by whom? By politicians, government, and corporates, because the scale of impact of each of their choices is, it impacts the entire planet. It's planetary scale impact. But where do we hold the lever? Today, thankfully at least, we have a system of governance called, what is it now? Democracy, at least in theory. So in a system of democracy, who's the boss? You are the boss, right? Which means, theoretically, the people you elect, the politicians, are your servants. They are here to serve you, right? Have you ever thought of it like this before? You've committed a sacrilege. You'll go to jail for this. Okay. So what we need to get over is our conditioning again. Our conditioning is that we've always had kings who ruled over us. But in 1947, we gave up that idea. But our conditioning has not allowed us to give up that idea. Now we have to move into awareness to say that, see, in this system of governance, citizen is the boss. The politician is the servant. The bureaucrats are their servants. Therefore, if any good change has to happen, the boss has to dictate or demand, this is what we need. So if the planet needs saving today, the citizen has to command it. The citizen has to ask for it. Right? All these years has the citizen been there asking for it? Have you ever felt that citizens are the boss till now? So why did the citizen not feel like the boss? You can start by reading the Hind Swaraj. You missed Gandhiji's message, which is 100 years old. Had we read the Hind Swaraj, we wouldn't be so politically uneducated. In every single way, the problem of today started when? Anthropological change. What is it? Can you repeat that slowly? Yeah. So the anthropogenic impact. When did it start? When is the beginning of humans? I mean, humans are some 8 million years or a million, I don't know. But it did start with when humans started moving out of forests, started setting up settlements, and started cultivating certain species of plants and settling down. And that's probably the advent of agriculture, right? 48,000, 10,000 years. Since then, we've been shifting everything. That's when we actually started messing up the planet, but it was not so evident. So yes, they say it is evident. There are studies which say that the entire Sahara Desert is a result of agriculture, whatever they did. They also say that the Middle East is a desert today because A lot of tribes, they started making boats. They used to cut off forests and make boats, and the entire areas become or desert to forest. Because at some point, there's this tipping point. The regeneration activity cannot happen. But the most acute and what's impacting us today started about 300 years ago in what we call industrialization. And industrialization is this fiber is allowed it is not controlling. Because the entire activity is based on capital. And the expected result of our capital is growth. Do you know any business that says, oh, we will stop growing now, we will just maintain business as it is. Let the planet can be saved. What does the stock market keep saying? Growth, growth, growth. For a moment. And then this fear that these companies are not growing, they will not be employment, they will not be anything to eat. Is it really true? You remember there was demonetization, and then everybody's life was completely upset. Didn't we get by? It wasn't so bad after all, right? Okay, then we had a COVID, unexpected, for a whole year, our entire life was upside down. Didn't we get by? So tomorrow suddenly, just imagine, there's no industries. Can you imagine it? No industries. Just go back to just growing. We'll grow food forests all around. Whoever wants to eat whatever is available. And possibly we can pick up skills from ancient. You know, India had thousands of different fabrics. They were the best in the world, but before the Europeans came here and even the interior factory made products. You know that? Are you aware? So maybe we can go back to the handmade. Just imagine, is life possible? That's how we lived for thousands, 10,000 of years. It's only in the last maybe 100 years that life has shifted to where we think working for a company, working for a government is the only objective in our life. To the point that everything else is secondary. We don't need happy families, we can ignore our kids, we can ignore society, we can completely detach from everything else. Our only purpose is to work. Right? When did this start? Maybe 100 years at most, right? 200 at most. This whole process of actually having huge factories and huge supply chains. How old is it? Probably 200, 300 years. Everything we used to grow locally, everything we used to produce locally. So life was possible like that for 10,000 years. Is it not possible again? You can imagine it's possible, right? So the problem is not that we have solutions. So we stopped at water. So we're looking at, okay, what's the choice? Okay. Then you're brushing your teeth, right? After that. So when you look at it, is this a sustainable choice? What do you evaluate? Go through the whole life cycle thing. Where did this raw materials for it come from? How was it grown? Are there chemicals in it? Was an industrial process used? Is plastic used to cover it? All that. And if you feel, oh, this is not a sustainable choice, it's harming the environment. Or someone say, no, it's a little bit of toothpaste. But how many people are using that little bit of toothpaste? 8 billion. That's a huge contribution to the environment, right? It's all going into our waterways, into our lakes, polluting. But that's just toothpaste. After that, you have soap. After that, you have the food that you're growing, eating. How was it grown? What are the life cycles? Are you aware of the impact of agriculture on today's global warming? What percentage of greenhouse gases are produced by agriculture? Huh? Yeah, it's anywhere between 20 to 50%. Why? Was it always like that? Simply because we shifted to monocrop and using of chemicals. That's all. That shift happened tragically in a process called the. I thought you knew all the answers. Something called the Green Revolution. Have you heard of it? Green Revolution was nothing but shifting indigenous sustainable practices into industrial agriculture, which is unsustainable chemical-based practices. The insult was that they called it a green revolution because there's nothing green about it. So, how many choices can you shift here? For toothpaste, do you have an alternative which is sustainable? Right? Hundreds of them. You just look around. It can be just salt, it can be neem, it can be, I don't know, so many different options. These are either home, you can find in the kitchen, or it can be from your garden and things like that. But when you actually think about it, you go into the awareness and think that that little toothpaste is so harmful to the planet, you shift and you decide, okay, I'll use something else. In fact, I've gone to the point of maybe not even brushing my teeth because. Oh, is it wrong? How many species live in this planet? Millions, right? Okay, tell me how many species brush their teeth? So why do you assume that this one species brushing teeth is doing right? Which means that all the other millions of species are dumb? There must be something wrong about us, that we need to even brush our teeth. That's because we don't eat natural food anymore. Have any of you experimented with eating just raw food? Have any of you? Oh, wonderful. How long did you eat raw food? 20 days, right? After that, did you feel the need to brush your teeth? No, right? Exactly. So, the problem with us is we have separated ourselves from nature. We keep deviating from nature with almost every choice we make. And therefore, every naturally forming system refuses to work. Isn't it absurd that we call ourselves the intelligent species? So we solved the toothpaste problem. After that, we'll move to the next one. Food, we discussed it, right? So if we move to naturally produced foods, what is naturally produced food? I mean, as close as we can get to nature today. What we are doing today, what farming happens is completely unbalanced. Because we are getting rid of the soil cover. How much time do I have? It's already 12. Or how much longer do you want me to speak? You decide. I can speak for another 2 hours, but you tell me how long you want it. Huh? 12:30. Okay. So, what is the most important constituent of agriculture, growing food? What is important? So, like, if you understood soil, do you understand soil? Does the farmer understand soil? We assume they do, right? Okay. If the farmer understood soil, he would understand that nutrition is provided to the plant at the root zone by what? Exactly, what's not visible, right? Microbes. Are you sure the farmer knows this? So that's a problem. The person who's dealing with soil does not know the soil. Right? If the farmer knew how soil works, he would not allow the soil to be what? What is required for those microbes to thrive in the soil? Moisture, yes. But to create conditions where the moisture remains, what is required? Simple. If the moisture has to remain in the soil, what will not happen? So what should the soil have? No, how will nutrients prevent evaporation? What will prevent evaporation? Okay, hint. Have you gone trekking? Have you gone trekking in the forest? Where people don't step in. Yeah? When people don't step in, how does the soil look? Can you see the soil? Can you see the soil? Mud? Exactly, that's how nature designed it. Do we ever listen to nature? No, right? Yeah. So, all organic matter falls on soil, keeps it covered, right? Why? Because then it prevents sunlight from hitting the soil. It also prevents evaporation. It creates air conditioning, good living conditions for all the microbes. And those microbes provide nutrition for the roots. That is why when you go to a forest, what is the productivity of a forest? It's unimaginable. What is the productivity on our most high-tech farms? So we humans have decided we will work and work and work and struggle and struggle and struggle. We can't even match 5% of nature's productivity. Right? So we do everything wrong. We expose the soil first, we get rid of all greenery, we destroy the biodiversity, and then we pump chemicals into the soil. Why? Because the microbes are not there anymore. Microbes died when the sunlight reached the soil. Microbes died when the water evaporated. The microbes died when the soil caked up and the soil aeration disappeared. Which is why we till the soil. In the forest, when you go trekking next time, put your hand into the soil. See how far your hand goes. Have you tried it? Okay. Do that. Then you'll realize why tilling is really not required. If the soil is in its natural state, it will be aerated, it's porous. Water, when rain falls, which way will the water go? When soil is porous? Also, when you have moisture and cool soil, who will help you? Soil critters. Heard of the earthworms? They will only come when the soil is cool. In your exposed soil, do you find soil earthworm castings? No, right? So, if the right conditions don't exist, nature gives up on us. How deep do you think those earthworms dig? Do you know? Guess, the smart ones. Half a meter. 4 meters. More than 15 feet. The earthworms are willing to build millions of tunnels if your soil is covered. Almost 15 feet deep. Which means you're going to have very loose soil, you're going to have deep tunnels. So when the rain falls, which way does the water go? Straight down. Where will your water table be? It will always be full, right? What does the farmer do? He gets rid of all of this. Soil gets rid of microbes, gets rid of earthworms, soil kicks up. When rain falls, which way does the water flow? Which way? Sideways. Which is why nowadays when it rains, our rivers are full of muddy water. If you go to a deep forest, even after the heaviest rainfall, the water will be clear. So, that's a shortened thing of it. What I'm saying is, our agricultural system is so distant from nature that we are having to invest. We are having to use fossil fuel derived fertilizers, which provides about 4 nutrients, whereas natural nutrition will provide about 200 nutrients. So do you understand with the most amount of food we eat today, we are undernourished because we are not using the right kind of nutrients for agriculture. And the damage it's done to our ecosystem because all the greenery is gone under this farm, right? All the biodiversity is gone. All the nutrition in the food is also gone. And because we adopted a method of monocropping, Those crops are an invitation to pests. Therefore, we dose the whole place with chemicals. Almost all the rivers, ponds, and lakes are polluted with the chemicals from farming. So even while we produce food, we're destroying the environment. And about 40% of all greenhouse gases originates about from agriculture itself. And then there's industrial activities. So food, if we shift to organically produced or even better is naturally produced foods, you'll have a big shift, a big impact, right? So that's a choice. Are those choices available? Is naturally produced food available? Is it? There are two ways to go about it. Actually, there are farming networks now which are going back. In fact, Andhra Pradesh has announced this very ambitious project of converting the entire state into natural farming. They are training. They have set up a huge army of trainers who go to the farmers and train them. Listen, bring back biodiversity to your farms. Use only microbes. You don't require chemicals. In fact, there is no investment for the farmer because he has to use only farm-based inputs. Otherwise, he's buying from all these industries, right? That's what they do. They keep telling farmers it's better to use chemicals through agriculture universities. So that's a fantastic program, but you do find networks of natural farmers here. You can find direct contact with them and you can shift. That's one way of doing it. And mind you, the more there is demand for it, the more production will shift. Yes or no? Right? So this is how you have an impact. You'll start by looking out for yourself. You'll realize that food is very healthy for you. It reduces your medical bills. Then you'll tell your friends and family, and they'll all shift. Then you'll form a collective of people, and you'll deal with a collective of farmers whom you'll tell you, please produce naturally. Then we will buy from you. That will become a bigger shift. That will create more movements as people come to know that this is wonderful, right? So a simple choice, but it can compound into something of a movement. Why is this important? Because on natural farms, about 30 to 40% has to be forest trees. The biodiversity that you rebuild. So you are bringing back greenery. Farmers have already reduced it to zero. You go to a village today. Do you see any trees? You only see bare farms, right? So it's become like a factory. So the trees will come back, biodiversity will come back. Possibly, the quickest way to solve global warming is by planting millions of trees. No other technology can do it. The trees will capture carbon. This can actually save the planet. How do you cause a movement that, they are announcing, oh, we're going to plant 1 million trees, 1 billion trees. None of it is happening. But just by adopting natural farming, maybe it will happen. Why? The farmers will grow forests along with their farms. 30% of the lands will become forests. See, when the British first came to India, do you have any idea what was the green cover in India? Okay, because we don't have time, I'll tell you. It's 90%. It was 90%. When they left, how much was it? 50%. What is it today? Yeah, 5 to 10%. Why? That shows that colonialism is not gone. Colonialism is actually industrialization, right? They operated through the ground for a while. Then they figured out it's easier to operate through all elected governments. So today we have colonialism that's perpetuated through elected democracies. Why? Because citizens have still not started playing the role. You have to be sitting on ground, right? We're sitting in our homes, we are ignoring society, then obviously we get whatever we get. We have to start stepping in and demanding. How do you do that? We need numbers, right? These simple choices, once you make them and you influence people around you to do it, then it builds these movements of choice making. Not asking you to go and do sloganeering. No, you shift the demand. The demand till now was for the wrong things. We were demanding industrialized products. We were demanding factory-made products. Start demanding natural farming. 30% of your tree cover is back. That will capture enough carbon from the environment, from the atmosphere, to at least give another 3 generations hope. By then we'll figure something else out. But at least you can delay global warming. This is the quickest way of capturing carbon, putting it into the soil, right? So not only will you improve your health, you'll also save the planet. by eating naturally farmed. Then you're going to get ready for your work, you're wearing clothes, right? Same thing applies. Between a factory made cloth and a handloom, the impact difference is almost 100%. If you ask us 5 or 10 questions, source of the fabric, what is the water use, what is the energy use, what is the pollution, what is the contamination, what is the impact on livelihoods, any factory made product, regardless of brand, the impact is so much. A handloom will be somewhere down there. Exact opposites. If you are adopting a handloom made product, apart from the carbon footprint for transportation, or if they haven't found organic, local grown cotton, which unfortunately due to the green revolution and GMOs, has literally wiped out all our organic cotton cultivation. These are the facts that people are not aware of. But apart from these two impacts, everything else is clean if it is handloom. It's handmade, it's hand woven, the dyes used are natural, it's from fruits and leaves and things like that. There is no contamination, there's no pollution, there's no livelihood loss. It generates more livelihood. An entire factory built with billions of dollars investment might give employment to about 1,000 people. Whereas here, every shirt you bought can probably take care of a family. You see the difference between capitalism and how local self-employed industries work. This is the big difference. And no impact on the environment. So when you're going to buy your next fabric, please find a weaver, buy it from him directly, or you go to some reputed brands of handlooms. In Karnataka, there's a very good collective called Charaka. I don't know if they're still there. Desi, they call the brand, or there are many others. So if you choose that, you've shifted demand. If a group of your family does that, you've shifted big demand. Then the markets will start responding. They say, oh, everybody wants handloom. Let's shift to handloom. You are saving the planet from huge impact. You are saving it from slavery. See, every factory made product involves slavery. Remember that. They are made in sweatshops. Because capitalism always tries to optimize. They try to find the cheapest place to produce. They don't care about anyone. They don't care about human beings. They don't care about the planet. They don't care about whether you have a future or not. Because most of the capitalists, unfortunately, live in this illusion that they can go to Mars. Mars has no life-sustaining capacity, right? If we have to survive, we have to do it on Earth. I still don't understand why billions of dollars or trillions, perhaps, are being invested in finding a way to reach Mars. That money should be used today, now, in saving our existing planet. Would you agree? Right? So yes, so I think you probably got the idea, right? Every choice, just examine its life cycle. See how bad that impact is. Ask a simple question. Is there a sustainable alternative? Is there an alternative which is aligned with nature? Is there an alternative that does not harm the environment? Is there an alternative that doesn't require resources? Is there an alternative which provides livelihood? Is there an alternative that gives hope? Right? And if it is local, the more local, the better. If it is made in your neighborhood, that much of carbon footprint is avoided. Yes or no? And then now you're traveling to work. What is the mode of transport you would think of? Be aware of it. If it is a personal vehicle, what is the impact on the planet? If you are traveling by a bus, what is the impact? How much impact is saved by traveling in public transport? Make those choices. The more you use it, the more demand for that goes up. Then you get more people. There's more demand. So instead of the few buses that BMTC runs today, they will have to expand their fleet to 10,000. Now they have, I think, 3,000. Instead, they'll be forced to expand it to 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 because people are demanding it. If you don't demand it, they'll do nothing. They'll keep reducing it. They'll allow automobile companies to sell cars and bikes and give almost interest-free loans to buy it. Why? Because we live in this illusion that those industries are important. No, they're not. Are they more important than your children having a place to live? Are they more important than saving the planet from all this misery and suffering in the future? They're not, right? We will always find a way around. When demonetization happened, nothing great happened. We learned to live with it. When COVID happened, we learned to live with it. We are adaptive. We just paralyzed by fear. We are paralyzed by our habits. Is it so difficult to overcome them? My personal experience has not been difficult. I just shift. I see how it works. Even when I shifted to raw food, 1 week I thought I was going hungry. But after 10 days, I found that it's fine. And then my body started adapting. And then I was finding so much energy because it's undestroyed food. Every time you eat food, what happens? You're destroying everything that's good in it, right? All the antioxidants, enzymes, vitamins. That's why what we eat today makes us diseased. Why? All the medicinal part of food is destroyed when we cook. So when you start eating raw food, you will feel extremely energetic. You will feel like alive, and you will never have to go to a doctor. You won't even have to brush your teeth. You saved so many problems at once, right? Then my problem was this. I couldn't eat cooked food after that. Because every time I eat cooked food, it used to hit my body because my body had become very sensitive. My tongue had woken up. Because now we are dousing our tongue with all kinds of strong flavors which are not natural. Sugar, the way we eat, it's not natural. Masalas, the way we eat, it's not natural. Once we get used to what's natural, we find the balance and we find incredible health. Then it's difficult to go back to something that's substandard. So the moral is this: we have to go back to our natural ways. That is the only thing that will save us first and our planet. Not only will it do that, it will also make us healthier. We are living substandard lives, we're compromising. We are living substandard lifestyles. For the last 200 years, we think working is the only reason we live. Is that true? Are we all born to be slaves? I mean, we can give ourselves great labels, manager, this, technical engineer, and all that. End of the day, what are you? If you're going to wake up every morning, run to work, spend 3 hours in traffic to reach work, then work for about 10 to 15 hours, then take another 2-3 hours to trick, and then come back home, ignore our families, have no meaningful relationships. What do you call this lifestyle? Are we living? So why are we being slaves? What convinces us to be slaves? These are good questions to take back home. Think about them. Because, one, are we living healthy? Can we live healthier? Can we also free the planet from whatever we are imposing on it? Can the planet also become healthier? I think it's a mirror. What we are doing to us, we are also doing to our planet. Do you agree? So I think we need to save both. And I think by making those individual choices and expanding those choices among our communities until it becomes a movement, a mass movement on every single choice. To the point where you, as inheritors of democracy, as the bosses of your country, you start demanding from your politicians that these are the choices that should be made. Every choice should be sustainable. Every planning policy should be sustainable. Every single project should be sustainable. And we should have a viable climate plan. And this should involve all of this. Do you think it's possible? Starting with those individual choices. You make the change first. You be the change. Spread in your communities, spread in your families. Ultimately, it will become a city-wide demand. Then it will become a country-wide demand. The only other option is you'll watch, either you will die in the mass extinction or you'll watch, your children will have to do it, or your grandchildren will have to do it. So what is the choice you'll make? Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you all. I hope it was fun for you as well. Do you have any questions? Are there any questions on? But we'll take some questions if there are any. In India, people are in the habit of breaking traffic rules. Okay, the question on G20 presidency. See, this is an interesting engagement, and I've been watching this a little bit. It's opened up a lot of. See, there are various discussion groups in the G20. Are you all following G20, the developments? Oh, this is also part of G20, right? This particular webinar is part of that engagement. Right? Yeah. So, yeah. So, basically, there are a lot of groups. There's a C20 group, there's other group. The good thing about most international engagements like this is that most of them are at least talking about sustainability. Like I remember Amitabh Kant, he inaugurated one discussion group in Ahmedabad just a couple of weeks back. I think that was a C20 group. And he was actually talking about the importance of master planning to build sustainable cities, environment friendly cities. Now, what most people are not aware is in 1992, we had the parliament enacted the 74th Amendment of the Nagarpalika Act. That clearly says that every city should have a decentralized and autonomous planning body, a planning authority called the Metropolitan Planning Committee. It also says that every city should have a decentralized and unified city government. That is decentralized from the state government. The problem is for the last 3 decades, for 30 years, no city in India has actually adopted it. It's part of the constitution, it's a law. So the important thing is not about whether we keep talking. The important thing is whether we do it. And that's exactly what I'm saying. If there is no popular demand, no democratic government is going to do anything. If the state government of Karnataka has been violating the 74th Amendment of the Constitution, it is in contempt of the Constitution. It should have been done. And if it was not done, citizens should have been demanding, why are they not doing it? It's part of the law. We could have taken them to court even, Now, that's the kind of civic empowerment that's required. If citizens are not empowered, things will remain as declarations, they'll become discussion topics in these conferences, and that's not sufficient. Most humans have tendency to not think seriously until something too serious happens. Yeah, that's agreeable, yes. In fact, I agree with Amit Panigrahi in the sense, see, my own shift, fortunately, unfortunately, happened when I watched death up close. Have any of you seen anybody die in front of your eyes? No. I would highly recommend it. If it brought any good changes in your life? What happened? No, but what happened to you as a person? You have these hospices, right? Where people are spending the last days of their lives. Please volunteer there if you find time. And watch somebody die. Because then what happens is death becomes very real. Otherwise, death is very abstract. The only reason we are extracting from the earth's resources and you're trying to make a lot of profits, trying to save a lot of money for the future is because we think we're not going to die. Correct? Somewhere in our subconscious, we don't think we're going to die. If we are aware that we're going to die, like I watched my father die in front of my eyes, it suddenly became clear to me that shit, time runs out. And that is why I evaluated what I'm doing with my life. I was like, all I do is go to work. And then I come home and try to take rest. And then go back to work, come back and try to take rest. That's all I was doing. Like, why should I live like this for like 5-6 decades and then die? What difference does it make to life? That's when I switched out of that lifestyle, the conventional lifestyle. So yes, it's good to have some serious things suddenly happen in your lives. Staycasing says life program may not succeed until there is some statutes like life, health. Okay, I'm not too aware of your life program, so you might have to answer it. I don't know. Do you want to give an answer on this? Sonu?
I would think that's an opinion, and
Would you like to respond?
I think this is an opinion that perhaps the implementation levels will be better if life becomes part of some statute. It's opinion which is okay, because anyone can hold an opinion. That's not a problem.
Breaking taxes and as we keep honking the horn, speaking. Okay, I think yeah, see, there's this. We try to make this distinction about popular culture and individual awareness. Ultimately, what we exhibit as a collective and as individuals is the extent of awareness, not just pure awareness, what action led by awareness. If our actions are contradicting our awareness, then we have a serious condition of, we have kind of made remaining blind a part of our culture in the sense, okay, we know it exists, but it's not important, we'll do something else. Now that honesty has to come into our life. When our actions are inspired by our awareness, then there is no separation between what we think and what we are. I think it's about going back to the basics, whatever Gandhiji said, and trying to read a bit of what actually Gandhiji said, because today we just made him a caricature. We don't know what he wrote. I think reading Hind Swaraj might be a good starting point for most people as citizens and as stewards of this planet. Because in many ways, I feel Gandhiji said it very well, very crisp. Please read it. Please make sure your children read it. Please make all your neighbors read it. I think we have to make this Hind Swaraj a national book of India that might start off a movement towards a better country also as citizens. Okay, I'm done. If any of you have any opinions or questions, please. No questions? Okay, thank you so much for having me. Wish you all the best.
Just, I'm Neil.
Yes, Neil.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. So it's an extremely tough subject, and I would say such a gem of words, very, very less people are attending. I don't know whether there is more people. Visible to me is very less, but I think unfortunately, humans are so that calamities and problems will start making us think of solutions. At that time, what you told, what you taught will start coming. I wish the learning happens much faster and earlier so that we will be able to see it in our lifetime changes. But practically, what I am seeing, we are communicating in other forums. Practically, what I see is that calamities and problems and pains, then suddenly all our systems, people's, individuals, the individuals as the building block of every building, like the basic block, are also start attending on to these problems only when dramatic calamities hit on our head, unfortunately. But I wish your class is available, recorded, and somebody somewhere will get a turning point with your class. And I beg your pardon for not having so many attendants. I had published this many times, but I wished many more people to attend. Thank you very much for your
we
question.
can make sure the video is available maybe online later on. You are uploading it on YouTube? Yeah. So let's go. We can probably make the video little viral and available to people. All of you please share it, especially with your kids, so they can make you feel guilty. So any frank opinions? How do you find the talk? I mean, the ideas. I'm sorry I didn't make it as Sonu. I'm sorry I didn't make it as interactive as you might have expected. I wanted it was okay, interactive enough. Yeah, because I'm still coming from a layman's approach. You're all specialists. Any opinions? Come on, speak your mind. No one's watching. Okay. It's all yours. Thank you.
We can sit back, do nothing, and watch our planet be destroyed, or we can take action, become advocates, and start making lifestyle choices which are kinder to people and the planet. Thank you, sir, for giving a brief insight on sustainable lifestyle for environment. On behalf of MP, I thank our guest speaker, Sri Sandeep Anirudhan, for his insightful talk. After listening to this talk, we have to think about adopting simplicity and less materialistic life living. Now, I call Dr. Vinaya Chaitanya, Program Officer, EIACT, to present a memento to our guest speaker, Sri Sandeep Anirudhan. Thank you, ma'am.
Actually, typically when I'm in class, I always tell them not in English. Because if you are out the between four
I would like to thank Dr. Jagannath Sharma, Director General, MP, for providing in-depth support. Thank you, sir. I thank Department of Sustainable Development and Public Policy, MP, and Department of Environmental Information Awareness, Capacity Building and Livelihood Program, EIACT, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India for organizing this webinar. I thank Ms. Renita for the technical arrangements. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all for participating in the webinar and making this program successful. I hope your knowledge has been expanded by this talk. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.